I got this watch earlier on in the week and I posted a few money shots on Instagram. This watch is so striking, so beautiful. And I posted something to the effect of, this is Oris doing what Oris does so well. So today we're going to be reviewing and talking about the Oris Aquis date, the Hangang Limited Edition, limited to 2,000 units. There is a tie-in to an environmental cleanup effort in South Korea. We'll get to that in a minute. But I'd like to thank Saltzman's Watches for lending this in. They've been a great supporter of my channel and just letting me borrow beautiful watches to present and share with you guys here. So I appreciate that. Let's start with the dimensions of this watch. And I will say, I really like this. I really like this a lot, but I will try to be objective and definitely call out the negative elements because there are several negative elements of this watch. So hopefully you guys feel like I'm giving this a fair shake and I'm not just being a biased fan of Oris, which I might be to a degree. So anyways, dimensions, 43.5 millimeters in diameter, 50.1 overall lug-to-lug length with a 13 millimeter height from the back of the custom engraved case back to the top of the domed sapphire crystal. The lugs are interesting. We don't have a traditional lug system here. This is an integrated bracelet, which I like. I know some of you guys don't like because you're limited in what you can customize when it comes to straps. You like playing with different options. And with an Oris Aquis, you definitely can't do that to the degree that maybe you would like. You're limited to OEM options or custom options, but the bracelet is very nice. Nice taper, 6 millimeter taper from about 24 at the lugs down to 18 millimeters at the clasp. And notice we have high polished edges here to this teardrop cross section of every link with a satinized brushing on the center portion. So basically opposite of the traditional finish that you generally find on a dive watch. And I like it. I love the full articulation. I like the screw links. I like the color play in the drape. To me, the bracelet of the Aquis is a selling point and not a hindrance, but I know some of you do disagree with me about that. Now let's talk about the color here. This is a lovely color. I look at this, I see a little bit of candy apple. I see a little bit of sweet pea. It is definitely different than the more forest green of the Aquis date in green that they do that I've also reviewed, and I can link that video in the description. I like this better. I think this is more striking, more vivid, and more unique. I have a thing for green dialed watches. A lot of you guys know that. And I think this one is the second best that I've personally seen over the years of reviewing watches on YouTube. My personal favorite is the one I'm wearing today, my Hulk, my Submariner. This to me is still tops, but man, this Hangang Limited Edition is very striking, very beautiful. And I love the way that Oris has integrated a unique layout for the date, and we have a sub-seconds at the 9 o'clock. I think visually, this is striking. That date track is following the rule of thirds, the golden ratio. So I think this is just very balanced. It breaks up the real estate of the dial. And keep in mind, when you have a 43.5 millimeter diameter dive watch, the dial will have quite a bit of real estate. So I think this is a little bit more balanced when you're looking at the date complication here, but I will say it's not as functional as a traditional date window. It's a little bit smaller. It is definitely more difficult to read at a glance. I do think if you were to buy this watch and wear it regularly, your eyes would adjust. I mean, it would be functional, yes, but not quite as easy to read at a glance as a traditional Oris Aquis date, if that makes sense. And I asked the members of my Discord group what they thought of this aesthetically and visually, and they basically agreed with me. It looks awesome. I mean, visually, it looks better than an Oris Aquis date that doesn't have this layout, this unique layout. But when it comes to function, I think it's just going to be a step behind the Oris Aquis date. And then the sub-seconds, you only have 4 hash marks here or indexes, so you're not going to be timing something to the second, and it almost has a superfluous feel to it, like it's an add-on or an afterthought. And maybe the watch would be stronger if that was taken off the dial completely, or we had a center seconds application to the movement. Now, the movement is what's called the Oris 743 caliber, which is based off of the Sellita 220-1 platform. So we do have that subsidiary seconds at the 9 o'clock position, a modified date display, 28 joules, a 4 hertz beat frequency, and a 38-hour power reserve. Now, the big knock when it comes to Oris Sellita calibers is the accuracy. Now, let's talk about that. Let me show you the booklet here where Oris talks about their daily deviation, what's acceptable. There's even a small paragraph here where it talks about, hey, don't lose sleep over your watch being accurate to the second. That's not a big deal. And then you guys can see the window here is -5 to +20 seconds per day, which is a pretty big window for acceptable daily deviation on a watch that you're going to be spending north of $2,000 for. And the value, I don't know, the value seeker in me, I want to see a chronometer anytime I'm spending close to $3,000 on a watch, but that's, just me personally. And so to see that is kind of disconcerting, but I will say, I kind of consider myself a realist. I've seen so many Oris watches and Sellita watches over the years. I will say that Oris, you're not going to be getting that wide of range likely when you buy one of these. The last one that I reviewed, the Big Crown pointer date, that was running +5 seconds per day. This one's running +4 seconds per day. The one I had previous to these two was running +6 seconds per day. I think the worst that I ever had was +10 seconds per day. So really, you're going to be getting tighter tolerances in an everyday situation. But I will say it is disappointing to have such a wide range of acceptable daily deviation in a watch that costs over $2,000. Now let's talk about the environmental project that this Aquis is associated with. So the custom green dial here, this lovely candy apple sunray green that just, oh my goodness, is so dang beautiful, is inspired by the green tones of the headwaters of the Hangang River in South Korea. And so again, a portion of every sale goes to environmental cleanup projects for the Hangang River, which really right now is in pretty bad shape in South Korea. And so I definitely can get behind the portion that goes to the cleanup efforts. I think that's nice. And if we do look at the case back, it's a very beautiful case back with Hangang River done in Korean, with the geographical architecture of the flow of the river. I think the case back is really beautiful. And I would rather look at this than look at a Sellita with a red rotor that's not dressed up very well and, again, not regulated to very tight tolerances. So overall, again, this Aquis, this is an example of what Oris does so very well. Very comfortable, contemporary, original design with nice elements, nice ceramics and color play, sapphire, beautiful bracelet, articulation, BGW9 lume, very good low light luminescence, applied markers. There is a lot to love here. But at the same time, it is classic Oris. You're not getting super tight tolerances in regards to accuracy. The anti-reflective treatment of the crystal, I don't even think there is ARC on this crystal, and it is very distracting. That's one thing that Oris could do that would greatly enhance a lot of their watches, including the Diver 65 and the Big Crown pointer date. Put a few layers of great anti-reflective treatment on the underside of the crystal, and you can see this lovely dial to a greater degree of clarity. It would really take up the feel and the user experience of this watch several degrees. I think that would be huge. So Oris, hopefully you listen to some of the suggestions that your biggest fans here, the guys that want you to succeed the most, what we have for you here. And that would be good anti-reflective treatment on the crystal. And again, the last negative element, visually, this layout is not super practical, although it is very balanced and I think aesthetically sharp. And I would be curious to hear what you guys think of this Oris Aquis Hangang Limited Edition. Again, I think it's beautiful. Hopefully, I've been fair to this watch. I haven't been overly positive or overly nitpicky just for the sake of trying to be woke or anything like that. I just want to give you guys a good sense of what this watch would be like. Here's the box as we close. You guys can see it's a classic Oris box made from environmentally friendly materials. It's not going to be as nice as what you would find on a more expensive Tudor or Omega box, but certainly a lot nicer than what you would find from similarly priced Seikos and Zin boxes. And then you guys can see there's a little booklet here. It shows the medallion architecture on the front where you guys can see the mountains, the geography, the river flow, and then the Korean characters for Hangang River. Inside, you can see the individual number for your limited edition. It will talk about the history of Oris as a brand and also those environmental cleanup projects specific to this Hangang edition, which I think is really nice. So guys, let me know what you think of this watch. Thank you very much for watching today. I really appreciate it. Please reach out with any questions you might have. And if you're shopping for Oris, I will link Saltzman's watches in the description of this video. Richard is awesome. He does as low as he can when it comes to discounts, depending on the model. He's a great asset to the watch enthusiast community, and his contact information is in the description. So guys, again, reach out with questions. Thanks very much, and see you next time.